So with everything that I've talked about during this and, trying to figure this whole thing out in terms of the lockout, how can there be a compromise? How can we fix all of this that I've discussed? So, I think to start, how would I, Tyler Lopes, fix the CBA? How would I start the proceedings? How would I approach the meeting if I'm the MLB and if I'm the players? And how do I think this is going to go? That's what I want to focus on right now. So I kind of want to give a logistical argument as to where I think that this should go. Now, I will say this. By the time you're watching this, this might be completely out of date because as of today, when I'm recording this, full disclosure, on Monday, so the Friday or the Monday before you're going to see this, that's when I'm recording. So the MLB players and the owners did meet today for the first time in quite a while, and they made some progress. So, and they're going to meet again on Tuesday, which is when I'm going to put this clip up. So by the time you guys see this clip, who knows? This might be completely out of date. But as of right now, there's been no discussion, or not no discussion, but there's been nothing agreed upon yet. So I'm going to just kind of give you guys how I would approach this. First things first, the universal DH, I think, is the first thing that has to be included. Sorry. I mean, I know that there's going to be a lot of baseball purists that don't want that, but I think that there's enough, I think there's enough people on both sides that want it that I think that's got to be the first thing that's included. And plus, I think it's inevitable. I really do think it's inevitable. It's going to happen eventually. I really thought it was going to happen last year, and I think a lot of other teams did too, which is why they probably made some of the personnel moves that they did. But, I think that's what the first thing has to be, is universal DH. They already have the DH in the American League. You got to have one for the National League. I think that's got to be the first thing that you put in. Secondly, I think that both sides need to check their ego at the door. I think that both sides, the players and the owners, have to stop asking for stupid things that they know they're not going to get. All right? Both sides. This is not just the owners, not just the players. Both sides are asking for things that just are not going to work. The owners need to stop trying to push free agency back for even longer, and they need to stop trying to get rid of arbitration or replacing it with another salary structure, whatever the case may be. Stop that. Stop doing that. It's not going to happen. The players are not going to be able to work with that. And as the players, you need to stop asking to eliminate the luxury tax altogether, because it's never going to happen. It's never going to work. It would be disastrous for the game of baseball if there was no luxury tax. And they also need to stop thinking that they're going to be able to get rid of revenue sharing. I just don't think that getting rid of revenue sharing is a great idea in general, especially in baseball when you have, I think a big difference between basketball and baseball is, a lot of free agents in basketball, they go to a certain city because of the prestige of that city, the prestige of that franchise itself, or the players already there that are talented, whatever the case may be. But every team has the same salary cap. Every team has the same amount of money they can spend. So it's not an unfair scenario in terms of the money that they have. If everybody wanted to go to Memphis, then everybody would go to Memphis. But right now, everybody wants to go to like Milwaukee, Philadelphia, Los Angeles, New York. Like, that's where everybody wants to go because they're really good. Most of those teams other than Milwaukee are, big time cities, where there's a, big market, big advertisement, whatever. But in the MLB, not only do teams in smaller markets like Oakland and Tampa Bay have that they have to go against, whereas people wanting to go to the Dodgers, people wanting to go to the Yankees, people wanting to go to the Red Sox, people wanting to go to the Angels because they're all in big cities and they have prestige as franchises. A team like the Mets even that aren't necessarily all that great every year, but they're in New York. Not only do the small market teams have to compete with that, they also have to compete with the fact that they don't have nearly as much money as those teams too. So I just think that revenue sharing, getting rid of it is a stupid idea because now those teams are screwed completely because they're never going to make any money. And second of all, I think that honestly, this might be unpopular, but I think there should be more. I think there should be more revenue sharing. I think that we should help those small market teams be able to compete more. I mean, look at Tampa Bay and Oakland. They are good enough to be in the playoffs, or at least be close to the playoffs, pretty much every year, despite the fact that they don't have any money to pay players. Feels like every 2 or 3 years, Oakland is just getting rid of all their good players because they can't sign them. And in 2 or 3 years, maybe even this year, they might be getting rid of all their good players again. And they haven't gone anywhere in the playoffs because they don't have any money to re-sign them. So I think, honestly, there should be more revenue sharing. But that's beside the point. Nonetheless, I think players should just stop asking for no revenue sharing. It's never going to happen. You need to check your ego at the door. So if I were the MLB, here's how I would approach this meeting. Again, I would give the universal DH. I would suggest the universal DH. Now, I don't know if that's already been discussed. I don't know if that's already been agreed upon. It might have, it might not have been. But that's what I would start with if I was the MLB. And I wouldn't ask for anything in return for that either, honestly. I mean, there's no point. Everybody kind of wants it in terms of, the players kind of want it, the owners kind of want it. Just do it. All right? Don't ask for anything in return. And then, here's what I would do. This is where it's a give and it's a take. So, I think that the MLB and the players both have to understand I am going to lose stuff that I want. I'm not going to get everything that I want in terms of this meeting. But what I can do is I can get something that I want by giving up something else that I want. So I can get some things that I want, but not everything. So what I would do if I was the MLB is I would propose to increase revenue sharing, which is something that the MLB wants and the players do not want. But in return, I would offer the players one of the main things that they want, which is a higher minimum salary. That's how I would approach that. Higher revenue sharing. Let's help out these young teams. I know that you guys don't want it, but if you go with me on this, I will make sure you get a higher minimum salary when you get called up to the majors. And then, here we go, right? Guys, it's gonna happen. There's no way it's not gonna happen at some point. And then after that, I would say, all right, here's your stupid playoff expansion that no one wants, and here's the pitch clock that no one wants, and here's all the other stupid ideas that MLB wants to push. I would put them all in there. But in exchange, I would raise the luxury tax so that teams can pay players more money when they hit free agency, and increase that luxury tax exponentially every year that the CBA is in effect. So don't just say we're going to expand it by $15 million this year and then leave it. Instead, go at it with an approach of we're going to expand it by $6 million every year for the next 5 years, so that at the end of the CBA, it will have expanded $30 million. That's how I would approach that. And then what I would do is I would remove one renewable year from every major league contract as a throw-in to that. Because I think $6 million per year or something like that, players are going to scoff at that. They're going to be like, that doesn't do anything. Because they're not going to be able to, a lot of them may not be able to see the growth that would be coming. So I think with that, especially considering you are asking for a lot of ideas that players don't want, you got to give them multiple things in return. So, last thing, like I said, for this one, expand the luxury tax every year of the CBA, and in return, remove a renewable year from the major league contract, or remove an arbitration year, whatever you have to do, which will give you one less team year of control on your contract. And then after that, I would propose the updated draft lottery that the owners want. Now, I know that the players are wanting at least an 8-team draft lottery. If not, expanding that like the NBA does to every team that doesn't make the playoffs to stop tanking. And the owners don't want that. The owners want a 3-team draft lottery. So the top 3 teams have a chance. So, if I were the owners, I would say, Here's our draft lottery. I know you want more, but in exchange, here is what I will give you. I will raise the minimum amount of money a team is allowed to spend in year-to-year team salary. So effectively giving teams an incentive to spend more money year to year. Now, this is not the same thing as luxury tax. I know what you guys are saying. Luxury tax is maximum. Year-to-year salary is minimum. So raise the minimum amount of money that a team has to pay players if they don't want to get punished by the MLB. And if a team consistently loses while being under that threshold, I would say probably 2 years or more. Give somebody 1 year to not really punish them, but 2 years or more is fine. Punish them by taking away international draft pick slots or other additional draft compensation in the actual MLB draft. That's what I would do. That is how I would start the negotiations. And again, it doesn't cover everything that the owners and the players want, right? But you know what? It's a start. It's a start. Both sides are giving up things that they want, but they're getting things that they want in return. Greedy owners in this scenario are coughing up the money that they should have coughed up a long, long time ago. But Rob Manfred and the owners get all the stinking rules that they want to put in there, like the playoff expansion, like the universal DH, like the pitch clock. They can get all that stuff that they want to get done in there anyway and scratch that stupid itch that they have. They can get all that in there, but they are also going to be held more accountable to pay players their fair share, and also they're going to be able to hold each other accountable, as in every team's going to have to pay a certain amount of money for players on a year-to-year basis, which means each team's going to have to be more competitive, which I think is really good for owners. Because guess what? Yes, I know that owners own other things and not just MLB franchises, but they are MLB owners, so they should be held accountable for being MLB owners, and they should be held accountable to be competitive every year. And if you know you're not going to be competitive, then you can take strides towards rebuilding. That's fine. There's a big difference between rebuilding and tanking, guys. But holding someone at least a little bit accountable to be somewhat competitive and at least try every year, I think that's so, so important. Now, I know some of you, not a lot of you, are probably going to disagree with some of the points that I had, and that's totally fine. I'd love to, talk about this stuff in the comment section. Leave down your ideas of what you think that MLB owners should be doing, MLB players should be doing. Leave all of that in the comment section below. I would absolutely love to continue that conversation.
Hey guys, me again. I just want to say thank you so much for checking out the Lopes Goes Last podcast. It means the world to me that you decided to stick all the way to the end. That's super cool. So thank you again. And if you really, really like what you see, I'd love for you to subscribe, like the video, and share it with all your family and friends, because, this is my passion project. This is what I love to do, and I really want the sucker to grow. And the only way that can happen is through you guys, is if you guys can help me out. So again, if you like what you saw, please subscribe, like the video, share with all your friends and family. That's the only way this is going to grow. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time.